Yama, I'm Jack and you're watching BTN. Here's what's coming up. We find out why the flu has made an early appearance this year. Learn about plans to fight doxing. And meet some young volunteers serving up lunch and laughs. But first today, we're going to explain a word that you might have heard a lot recently, and that's inflation. It's something the government has tried to fight in this year's budget, but as Joe found out, it's a delicate balancing act.
Roll up to Joe's spectacular economic circus! Featuring the bull market, the cost of living contortionists, the RB acrobat, the surplus strongman, and the main attraction, Australia's treasurer walking the inflation tightrope.
Yep, inflation is the balancing act that has everyone on the edge of their seats right now.
But to understand what it is, we need to go back in time.
If you go back to about the 1960s, when your grandparents were kids, things were much cheaper. A house would cost around $12,000. You could pick up a sweet new ride for about $2,000 to $3,000, and food was priced in cents.
But if we fast forward to today, all of these things cost a lot more. And that's because of inflation.
But, ladies and gentlemen, you may be wondering, why does inflation happen?
Well, usually it's because demand outweighs supply. Basically, there are more people wanting to buy stuff than there is stuff to buy. Which might seem familiar. It can happen for a few reasons. Like, say, a global pandemic which shut down a whole bunch of factories and led to empty shelves. A natural disaster like a flood which turned an iceberg lettuce into a luxury item. Or an increase in the cost of transport and raw materials because of human-made disasters.
But it can also happen because there is too much money. Yes, that's a thing.
If people have more money, say because unemployment is down and wages are up, they're more likely to spend it. And businesses are more likely to take advantage of that and jack up their prices. A little bit of inflation is good because it means the economy is growing. But too much means the economy can start to wobble. That's where the balancing act begins. One of the main counterweights to inflation is interest rates. The Reserve Bank can make it more expensive to borrow money, in the hope it'll slow down spending and drive down prices. But that can have a big impact on families who are paying off their home, and it can lead to higher rent. That, combined with all those other high prices, means lots of people are struggling right now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happens when we throw the budget into the mix.
One of the big challenges the government faced in this year's budget was balancing the need to help people deal with the cost of living crisis while bringing down inflation.
And the combination of providing a tax cut for every taxpayer, energy bill relief for every household, rent assistance for people who receive rent assistance. Collectively, we hope that takes some of the pressure off people and it will put downward pressure on inflation.
But not everyone thinks they've successfully walked that tightrope.
This is an inflationary budget and it is going to make it harder for interest rates to come back, and it's going to make it more difficult for families and small businesses for longer.
Some are worried that the tax cuts and money being handed out in the budget will lead to increased spending and push inflation even higher. And while the government reckons it'll be back on track by next year, the Reserve Bank doesn't agree.
There's no doubt about it, folks. It's a difficult act to pull off. Will he stay sure-footed, or will he stumble? We'll have to wait and see.
What unusual activity did the US Secretary of State do when he visited Ukraine last week? Did he play soccer, play the guitar, or act in a play? He played the guitar and sang in a bar. Anthony Blinken rocked out to the Neil Young song Rocking in the Free World after telling the crowd they were fighting not just for a free Ukraine, but a free world. What's been stuck in this lady's car for the past 6 weeks? It's a snake. Lisa, who lives in Newcastle, called in snake catchers when she found the red belly black on the back seat. But no one's been able to catch the slithery passenger, who she's affectionately nicknamed Fluffy. Which of these fancy furry finalists took out Best in Show at the Westminster Dog Show in New York? Was it Louis the Afghan Hound, Mercedes the German Shepherd, Comet the Shih Tzu, or Sage the Miniature Poodle? It was Sage the Miniature Poodle, whose owner was very proud.
No one. I'm so happy. Exciting.
Well, it's a good time to dust off the hand sanitizer and practice that old social distancing because flu season is here. Experts say it's arrived earlier than usual and they're worried not enough people are being vaccinated. Take a look. We now return to The Tonight Show with Georges et Georges. Give it up for our house band. Now our next guest is back with a brand new season that critics say will have you coughing and sneezing. It's Influenza A.
Oh, come on now, Georges. Just call me the flu. Everybody does.
All right, the flu. Now you're back with a new season and it's only May.
Look, what can I say? I'm a little early this year, but I'm just giving the fans what they want.
Yeah, while I'm not sure there are a lot of fans of the flu out there, it does look like flu season is a bit earlier this year than expected.
We're being urged to roll up our sleeves now with the flu season coming really quickly.
There are real fears our nation is heading into another horror flu season.
Australia is experiencing an early wave of the flu season.
The flu, or influenza, is a virus. You can catch it through the spit or mucus of someone infected. Symptoms are pretty similar to that of a common cold. I'm talking runny nose, sore throat, headaches. But while colds usually fizzle out after a few days, the flu can be more serious, especially if you're very young, very old, or have a medical problem. This season is already rating very high.
Yeah, well, it'd be higher, but whenever I enter a room, everyone's like, oh no, here comes the flu, run! I mean, get over yourselves. Oh, what do you expect? I'm a virus.
In Australia, flu season typically runs from May to September, the colder months. But for the past few years, we've seen cases appearing earlier and earlier. Experts say one of the reasons why is another virus, COVID-19.
Oh, COVID, that spotlight-stealing diva.
Because COVID kept us inside for a long time, our immune systems didn't have as much exposure to germs and viruses, and got less practice fighting them off. We've also been doing a lot more socialising and travelling recently, which helps to spread viruses like the flu, and COVID. Yes, it's still around too. It's the reason health professionals are encouraging people to get vaccinated.
Now is the time to get your flu shot.
Now, what are your thoughts on vaccines?
Don't get me started. I can't stand them.
Well, then sit down.
I can't. I'm a floating microbe.
Vaccines work by basically introducing your body to a virus. It's not an active virus, so it can't make you sick. But it does teach your body how to fight off the real thing if it comes along.
You get vaccinated to protect yourself, to protect your loved ones, and to protect the community.
Unlike some other vaccines, you have to get a flu shot every year. Let's talk wardrobe.
Honey, I have more wardrobe changes than a BTN reporter. One day I'm H1N1, the next I'm H3N2. I can't keep up.
There are lots of different styles, strains of influenza, and those strains can change slightly over time. It's the job of scientists like these to find out which strains are around so they can create new vaccines to help prevent them. But experts are worried that this year, not as many people have been getting vaccinated.
I think everyone's feeling like the fatigue from vaccines, so definitely not as many people coming in for the flu shot this year.
There are other things you can do to protect yourself.
You know, I've always said laughter is the best medicine.
Oh, really? Well, I would have said to wash your hands regularly, keep away from people who are sick, and if you are sick, then make sure you cover that cough and keep away from others.
Oh, shush. You're too much.
Oh, no, you're too much. Stay away. Seriously, stay away.
Not if I can help it.
The federal government is looking at bringing in new laws to target doxing. It's something that's happened to a lot of Australians, including many kids. Here's Amelia.
It happened last year when I was still year 7. Me and one of my friends were on like a server for a game in development. And then one of the people friended me and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then we got into like a bit of a fight in the server. Like, I don't know how, but he found out where I lived and then he messaged my friend saying, hey, make her do this or I'm gonna send her location out. He posted my location on the group. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna be okay? But it was still like very traumatic.
About 2 years ago, my friend was playing some game and he got the highest score. And about 5 minutes after that, someone sent in the public chat his IP address. And about a day later, a few of his accounts said they'd reported suspicious activity.
When I was 15, I was playing Call of Duty online and, me and another player got into a little bit of a heated argument. And from there, he found my IP address, in which he used to find my actual address, and started sending pizzas to my house, sending Uber Eats to my house. Family was distraught. They were just as worried and scared as I was. I was worried if my life might be in danger if they sent other people to my house. I never knew who was going to be there. I didn't know if they were going to show up.
What Alex, Mason and Persephone are talking about is doxing.
So doxing is a shorthand term for basically a dump of documents. So we might be searching through people's social media feeds to try and figure out where they work or where they live. It's the behaviour of going and finding all of that information and collating it and putting it in one place and making it accessible to other people. And the thing that makes it doxing is about using it maliciously.
Stats show about 1 in 20 Australians have been doxed. And younger Aussies are more likely to be affected by cybercrimes, including doxing.
I do think a lot of people my age and even younger, older, would get doxed because sometimes you can say, yeah, okay, I'm gonna trust you, you seem really nice, and then you don't know who they are behind the screen.
Doxing isn't exactly a new thing. But as we all put more and more info online, it's becoming easier for your average person to dox someone, often as retaliation or because someone doesn't like something someone else is saying or doing.
Sometimes people do it because they genuinely think that they're doing the right thing. Sometimes it comes from a place of what we call moral outrage, which means you see something that you really don't like, it doesn't fit with your values and your view of the world, and so what you want to do is to call it out.
I think it's really important for anyone when they're engaging online to take a step back and think about what could be the consequences of what I post.
Recently, the government announced it's looking into creating specific doxing laws to try to tackle the issue more directly, after the details of a WhatsApp group involving hundreds of Jewish Australians was published online.
We want to protect all Australians. No one should be the subject of this kind of malicious activity because of who they are or what they believe.
But some are worried that if the new laws are too general, they could get in the way of what's known as white hat doxing. That's done by professionals like investigative journalists, some hackers and whistleblowers.
Because a lot of that has called out things like massive crime syndicates, human rights abuses.
I also think we have a bunch of harassment laws. Really, doxing is a form of harassment. We need more work actually in enforcing the rules that we've already got.
What would your advice be to people who might want to avoid doxing happening to them?
My advice would be to not put a bunch of information online and not talk to people that you don't know.
My advice would to be not let it get to you. Just make sure you block all of these people. Tell your parents, even if you think you'll be in trouble, it's better to be in trouble than to have someone possibly harm you in real life.
And don't blame yourself for it. You know, it wasn't on you. It's another person doing very bad things.
We're watching BTN from Doxxing The Federal.
Next up, we're going to talk about storms, but not the sort that cause rain or hail, the sort that cause these. Recently, we were treated to some of the best auroras that we've seen in more than 20 years, and it was thanks to a massive storm on the sun. Here's Joe.
If you live near the north or south of planet Earth, you might have been treated to a sight like this recently.
But it's not the work of ET and a whole lot of intergalactic fireworks. It's an aurora, and it's all thanks to the sun.
You see, this old gas ball of daylight is a nuclear furnace. Its core is a toasty 15 million degrees Celsius, and that energy radiates slowly outwards, kind of like a pot boiling on a stove, until it reaches the surface and is carried out into space as heat and light, along with millions of tons of charged particles every second. But
every now and then it has a hissy fit, and instead of throwing out 1 million tonnes from its entire huge surface area, it throws out 1 billion, 1,000 times more, or 10 billion, and from just a little small area.
Those small areas are called sunspots, which are cooler, darker patches on the surface, known to spit out flares of charged particles called solar storms or coronal mass ejections. And recently, one sunspot named AR3664 had what Dr. Carl would call a major hissy fit. In just a couple of days, AR3664 burped 4 huge bubbles of super-hot geomagnetic plasma, which hurtled towards Earth at between 250 to 3,000 k's per second. Luckily, the Earth has a magnetic field, which protects us from most of the sun's energy. But as the solar storms pass around us, the charged gas particles funnel down into our atmosphere at the north and south poles, reacting with gases and glowing in our upper atmosphere, painting the skies red, green, pink, blue, and violet.
This was the strongest event of this kind to hit the Earth in about 20 years. Because the sun goes through periods where it's quite active or where it's very quiet, and we happen to be in an active phase at the moment.
Scientists around the world are always on the lookout for solar storms, and not just so they can spot auroras.
While it's a beautiful, kind of thing to look at, it has a lot of consequences for like a technological society.
Solar storms have the potential to damage technology in space that we rely on for things like communication and navigation, and could even be risky for astronauts.
There have been satellites that have died in orbit. At the moment, we have about 7,500 working satellites in orbit, and we'll see when we get the data back how many of them died.
There was even a solar storm back in 1859 called the Carrington event, which interfered with telegraph communication here on Earth, as well as causing the brightest aurora in recorded history.
It woke people up who thought it was sunrise. It was so bright you could read a newspaper by it.
While experts aren't expecting anything that big, they reckon we could see more auroras over the next few months. Unfortunately, they can't tell us exactly when they'll happen, so we'll just have to find a comfy bush and keep our eyes peeled.
It was a sea of blue here in Manchester as Man City beat West Ham 3-1 to claim yet another English Premier League title. This is the team's 4th title in a row, which is something no other English football team has ever done before. Now to another broken record, the opening game of the 2024 Women's State of Origin.
The Blues take Origin 1.
About 25,500 people went to the clash, which is nearly double the turnout for last year's series opener. And more than a whopping 940,000 people watched the game on TV, making it the most watched Women's State of Origin match on record.
There's no bums left in seats after that.
This week is National Volunteer Week, which is all about celebrating the hard work and dedication of volunteers around the country. So Amelia went to meet some school kids in the Adelaide Hills who help out at a community centre once a month and have lunch with the locals. Check it out.
Hey, Paige.
Hi, Amelia. This is Aurora Café. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, lead the way.
So we're going to set up all the tables, then we're going to do the chairs and then set up all the tablecloths and all the plates and cutlery and flowers and everything.
Paige and her classmates are here to help.
We like to volunteer here because we can give back to the community and help them out because of the stuff that they've done for us.
Today we'll be serving elderly people and talking to them and having conversations, helping them with their food.
And unlike me, these kids know exactly what they're doing. Have I done that properly, Paige?
Yep.
Okay. This isn't the first time they've all volunteered at their local community centre. In fact, students from their school come here every month to host this lunch for locals.
Hello.
Got the schoolgirls from Summit?
Yeah. I'm in my last year of school now and I've been doing it for 3 years. This is my 6th time and I'm really enjoying it.
I've started this in year 4 and every time we rotate.
We have students who get quite excited when it's their turn and then a little bit disappointed when it's not their turn.
It's not just about providing a tasty lunch though, it's also about sitting down and having a chat.
How's your lunch?
Now at least that is something I can do. The event actually started a few years ago to help tackle loneliness.
Older people think it's great to come here and have a good time, chat with everybody.
I've met one lady that came to our school and she used to tell stories about all the teachers that have been there. It was really nice.
If I think that people enjoy having the students around, I'd say definitely yes. It's just more interaction with a different age group.
The interaction's just fantastic, days. I love it. It's to coin a phrase, it's survive.
But these young volunteers get a lot out of it too.
You learn a lot of social skills and it's fun to talk to the elderly people and have conversations. You learn a lot.
It's given them a bit of experience in mingling with people. It gives them something to do. And I'll bet every one of them like being here rather than at school.
And there is one other little perk.
Plus we get some extra food on the side of it.
The food is really great. We usually get free food. They treat us really well. It's super fun and enjoyable for everyone to come.
But whether your volunteering experience involves free food or not, these kids reckon you should get up and give it a go.
I think it's really important for our age to be volunteering because so many of the other generations help out and we should give back to them. I would ask your local community or even just helping out a neighbour or anyone who needs help, just help out them and maybe even in your school, do as much as volunteering as you can there.
That's it for now, but we'll be back next week with more news. Until then, you can catch Newsbreak every weeknight and head online for BTN specials, BTN High, and a whole heap of resources for your teachers. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.